Hi there. Today I'm going to talk about metaphysical abilities. I was asked a question by a friend a couple weeks ago as to what kind of metaphysical / psychic abilities exist, and I did a Google search and I was displeased in the lack of information, or the lack of a comprehensive list of metaphysical abilities. So I'm going to list the ones that I found, which are 24, and define them briefly. If there's anything that you would like me to go into later, just let me know in the comments, or you can look it up yourself. Okay, so now I do feel that all humans are born with at least one metaphysical ability, usually more, but we have to tap into them. We have to tap into our inner selves, know who we are, and we need to be confident in our abilities. And we need to realize that the human mind, or the human consciousness, or whatever it is extremely powerful. And we want to try to be optimistic here. Because the negative thoughts, I mean, our thoughts really do create our reality, and, you know, so we want to try to keep it as positive and peaceful as we can. So, but that's a sidebar. Okay, intuitive abilities, aka the Clair abilities. Now, you can find a lot on these. Clairvoyance, intuitive vision, the ability to gain visual telepathic information that others don't see. They can gain information about an object, person, location, or physical event through extrasensory perception. I am not a clairvoyant. I do not know how they do it. It is my understanding that it happens somehow through the third eye. They can see visions, and then also others can see actual entities and energies in the air, just while they're walking along. 2, clairaudience. This one I do have experience with. Clear hearing, an intuitive ability, but specifically relating to sensing anything of auditory nature. Sounds, names, voices, etc. Being able to hear the thoughts or words of spirits or music and nature-related sounds. Now, the one thing about this is you don't know who is speaking to you. So I recently, well, a couple years ago, I set the intention that I no longer will allow communication with any energy that is not of the highest, that's intention is not of the highest and greatest good for humanity. Ever since I've done that, I've had much less communication, but I've also had much more reliable communication. So intention is very important. Claircognizance, which I also am. Clear knowing, intuitive, inner knowing. One with claircognizance just knows things. Gut instincts that turn out to be correct. This is where you can see an object and you've never seen it before, yet you know how it works. You can go somewhere and know exactly how to get around, and you've never been there, you know, different things like that. Clairsentience is clear feeling. Feel the emotions of others. It can include the capability to know personal information like someone's name, profession, birthday, or zodiac sign of a total stranger. Clairsentience, I do have experience with. It is very easy in a personal environment. You can literally feel someone else's energy. Now, online, through technological mediums, it is harder, but I'm getting better at being able to sense the energy of someone through these. So, okay, now those are the most common clairs, but there's also Clairolfactance, which is clear smelling, suddenly smelling something, usually has meaning to you. I have a friend that can do that. Her name is Mary Charlotte. She's also a medium, and she doesn't tap into it. She should. I didn't even believe that mediumship was legitimate until my grandmother died, and a couple of the messages that she gave me, it's like, oh, yeah, okay. You really are talking to her, alrighty. And then when my sister-in-law died, she had some messages, and she coincidentally smells like cookies, and she always baked. She was very strange. Clairgustance, clear taste, the ability to taste without putting anything in your mouth. Clairtangency, clear touch, the ability to receive information by touching an object or person. I have seen people do this. It's very cool when you can find somebody that can do it with objects like crystals or things with a long history. It's interesting. Okay, telepathy. It is the metaphysical ability that involves communicating beyond physical means, usually from the mind of one person to the mind of another. An example of telepathy is how loved ones communicate without know what each other is thinking, even when they're miles apart. Telekinesis, the ability to metaphysically influence a physical object with the mind. An example would be how some people can turn on light switches from a distance. This ability has been proven by credible establishments. One example would be Princeton University. Telekinesis, like a lot of metaphysical abilities, can occur over any distance and from any period of time. For example, a person could telekinetically influence something 1,000 miles away 2 years in the future. Mediumship, the ability to converse with the dead and pass their messages to others. A person who is performing the ritual is able to either hear the spirits or be possessed by them. Furthermore, mediumship is seen as a form of clairvoyance. Precognition, a psychic power that allows the reader to see future events through a gut instinct, visions, or random thoughts. Psychic advisors with precognition also have a talent for making connections between past or present events in order to predict future outcomes. Retrocognition, similar to precognition, but it is the ability to discern the past and past events using various means, usually entering a trance while seeing and hearing a noted past event, whether it be concerning themselves or of an unfamiliar lineage. Apportation deals with the transport of things. I have seen this happen. Usually calling them from somewhere else, although teleporting them away from one place to another is possible. Apportation may also be involved in the opening of dimensional gateways. Empath. Empathy is the capacity to understand other people's feelings and perceive them as your own. I have heard several people recently say that empathy can be taught and or learned. No. Empathy is something that one is born with. They either have it or they don't. I feel that it is the type of consciousness that is going through one's vessel. There are multiple types, and one has to have the heart consciousness or the human consciousness, the love center, whatever you want to call it. Only people with that consciousness can be empaths. And everyone that feels empathy may or may not be an empath. An empath is where the feelings are much more intense. Like, you feel exactly what the other person is feeling, and you may feel it more intensely than the person actually feeling it. At times, it may feel as if the universe itself is expressing itself through you. And I know what that means. It's like consciousness itself gets upset and gets lonely, and then it expresses itself through us. I feel that empaths, one of their main functions is to transmute negative energies into positive energies. But the problem is that can be very draining. And so without proper protections, empaths don't do this, and they just end up getting sucked dry. I've been sucked dry. Narcissists prey on us, and it's not fun. But with proper protections, it absolutely does get better. Absolutely. And I'll do a video on empaths themselves one day. Okay, this is number 15 here. We're on remote viewing. The ability to obtain information from a distant location and or time period. This would be pictures, sounds, feelings. This is done by using only intuition. For over 50 years, this skill has been tested, proven, and used by several credible establishments like the U.S. Army, the UN, Princeton University, Pentagon, and Duke University. I've quoted this from somewhere. I don't know that I would say any of them are credible, but they have actually studied it in depth. You can look up some old remote viewing studies they did. And all of these establishments have publicly acknowledged their involvement with remote viewing. Astral projection. That is a phenomenon which has been mentioned in various cultures and religions for centuries. It is an out-of-body experience where an individual feels as if her spirit is being detached from the corporeal form and is able to roam freely. Experts usually see it as a type of telepathy. In most cases, astral projection is closely connected to dreams and meditation, during which time the spirit is able to exit the body. A psychic ability, which is very similar to astral projection, is remote viewing. I astral projected a few times as a child spontaneously, and it scared the living daylights out of me. I asked my parents about it, and of course they were of no help. My dad's just like, yeah, that can't happen, so just don't do it again. And I was scared of it, and so I never did it voluntarily. And then I lost the ability to do it. I have gotten close a couple times recently, but still haven't done it. And I'm a little bit, I mean, I'd like to do it just to go and look. But, okay, baby, just a second. Is your stick stuck? Let's try to play with something else. Mommy's almost done. She's got a stick stuck through a fence. She's not happy. She can't get it out. Lucid dreaming. Dreaming in a way that the dreamer is aware they are dreaming. And I have always dreamed this way. I thought everyone did. During a lucid dream, the dreamer may gain some amount of control over dream characters' narrative environment. It's like when people talk about falling, dreams where they're falling. It's like, well, yeah, you don't fall. You just like take off flying, don't you? And they're like, do what? It's like, oh. Yeah, I mean, I've just always known that I'm dreaming, and I do control them. I mean, if I don't like where I am in a dream, let's go somewhere else. Okay, prophetic dreams. A prophetic dream is one that involves images, sounds, or messages hinting at things to come in the future. There are different types of prophetic dreams, and they each have their own unique meaning. The three main types are warning dreams, decision dreams, and directional dreams, which would be like change the direction of your life. Metaphysical healing / energy healing. That is healing that results from non-physical methods. Often refers to healing that occurs from one person to another, even over long distances. If you've ever experienced acupuncture, Reiki, Tai Chi, Qigong, or crystal work, then you've had energy healing. An alternative form of medicine, this form of healing involves hands-on and off work to help balance the body. And I do feel there's a lot to that because we are all energy. 20. Aura reading. The ability to see the electromagnetic field of all living things, people included. Aura readers detect one's energy by seeing colors, patterns, and vibrations, each exclusive to one another. And so an aura reader can see around, like we project a color off of us, and I think that'd be really cool to be able to do. But automatic writing. Now this I have done. The ability to write letters, documents, or simply phrases out of a spiritual subconscious without being aware of it. Automatic writers may be able to channel a spirit or presence and write on their behalf. And that's when basically, you know, you start writing and you don't really have conscious. I mean, you're just writing it, and then after you write it, you read it and see what it says. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's strange. Psychometry. By touching inanimate objects, a psychic can get a strong sense of its previous owner and any potential story or history behind the item and or person. And that sounds very much like one that we already talked about. Palmistry is the art or practice of interpreting a person's character or predicting their future by examining the lines or other features of the hand, especially the palm and fingers. It can be learned, but some do have a natural gift. I actually have a close friend in Africa that can look at his own palm, but like ask about somebody, have somebody in mind, and he looks at his own palm and he gets a reading of that person's character. And I mean, he's right. He's spot on. It's really crazy. And then divination. I don't feel divination and divination is something that anyone can do, but I suppose that you do need to have a certain open-mindedness and a certain spiritual connection to get good answers. Divination is a process that allows us to foresee the future by reading various signs and omens. It was a crucial part of human history as tribal shamans tried to understand their surroundings and see what the future held for their people. Divination is something that was performed by highly spiritual individuals who were able to see past the corporal world. There are certain similarities between divination and fortune-telling, although as time went by, the latter form became much more popular. Divination using playing cards is a common method of foretelling events, and other tools can be used, such as tea leaves, crystal balls, tarot cards, spirit boards, runes, crystals, and pendulums. And I do pendulum dowsing, and I'm learning tarot. But I do feel you have to have a certain spiritual connection to get the appropriate answers. Especially like with the pendulum, for example, you have to say what energies you're willing to communicate with and which ones you aren't. And without a certain inner knowing, I suppose people would really suck at divination. I'm not sure. So, those are the ones that I have. So, as you can see, there are many different gifts that one can be born with or develop throughout their lives. I think being open-minded is very important. If any of those resonate with you and you feel as if maybe you have one of those, I would look into them. We should all be proud of our unique abilities, and we should use them as much as we can. Have a great day.